Hey, Justin, thanks for joining us on the
Thanks
show.
for
How's it
having me.
going?
It's a hard act to follow, man. I don't know, to if we can talk about taxes in a fun way, but hopefully we
Oh,
can.
I'm very interested in taxes. I saw a fun video on YouTube that was like a current day person serving the military talking to a military vet from the American Revolution. And they met and had a whole conversation about taxes. It's like, they got rid of that 2% T tax. It's like, oh no, we get taxed like 40% now. It's like just shows how the pendulum has swung one way in the most horrifying way. That what our the in the American Revolution, why that was fought and how that is so slid little by little like a frog in a boiling pot. Things have
Hmm.
gotten awful. Tell us about your documentary, and I want to show everyone here the trailer too.
Okay. I mean, this is a film that uh, is really at its heart about me and my dad. My dad was a pretty amazing guy who grew up poor during the Depression and became very successful. And then uh, as he grew older, became more and more focused on wanting to, hold on to what he had and pay as little taxes as possible, which is, what most Americans and most human beings would want to do. And so, but he lived the American dream, and he liked to say that, rags to riches. Um, but you know, his education was paid for by the GI Bill. He was in the Navy. I went to law school and college there, and he passed away the same year that my son was born in 2008. Um, and I got to thinking, about this question of inheritance and, what is it that we want to leave our kids? And since then, this American dream, this meritocracy, in my estimation, is becoming harder and harder to achieve.
I mean, I agree. You're a father to a
Mhm.
son. I am also, and thank you for your father's service to this country. I'm also a father to a son and a daughter, and neither own houses. And when I bought my first home, which I no longer have, but in 2000, it took years to get there. It took over a decade of saving. And it's just, we're losing the American dream. And it's sad to see, you know?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think the cost of education, the cost of healthcare, the cost of housing is just makes it hard for people who work their butts off to achieve this dream. That and the fact of the matter is that in the 1950s, when millions and millions of people got low interest loans from the government, that kind of planted the seeds of the middle class that we have today. Um, and whether you like it or not, that was really paid for with taxes. I mean, Eisenhower, who was a Republican, the top taxes in his administration were 90%, and that was really on the top of the richest people. So my issue is that people like my dad, who I love very much and I appreciate, uh, it's just so easy to avoid the estate tax in particular. And we're about to have what they call the great wealth transfer of $100 trillion or more going from one generation to another. And as President Trump's advisor Cohen said, only morons pay the estate tax because it's just so easy to avoid. And who wouldn't avoid it? To be honest with you, I've got kids, and I would be foolish not to take advantage of the most basic loopholes. But it's a problem because that's money that we need to, put it this way. This bill that just passed, the great, big, beautiful bill, literally cuts $1 trillion from the estate tax for the richest 0.1% of Americans, which is me. And it pays for that by cutting Medicaid and food stamps. So it's like a clear choice we're making. And I think that that's fine. We need to, make choices. That's what we do, but we need to have an open discussion about it.
Let's take a look at the trailer for your film to give people a taste. I've got it queued up right here.
Yeah, there's my dad.
At the end, I have just died.
Welcome to a Schein family meeting. That's my dad, holding forth on his favorite subject, keeping his hard-earned money from the tax man when he dies.
The wealthy have found all sorts of legal ways to reduce their taxes.
Have I hurt anybody to accumulate my money?
I'm just saying that
I've taken a lot of risks in order to do that.
My dad was obsessed with the estate tax, money the government takes from extremely wealthy people when they die. That's why some people call it the death tax.
I don't want the estate that I worked my tail off to accumulate to go to pay welfare. It's for you, your progeny, and so forth.
The fact that you're doing this film tells me that your dad had a fair amount of money set aside, and it clearly is affecting you.
This story isn't just about money, it's about family. So I asked my wife for some advice.
I mean, the only way that I think anyone will ever see this is if you found a way to not make it some poor little rich white boy story.
Over the next 3 decades, $30 trillion will be passed from one generation of extremely wealthy baby boomers to the next generation. If more and more wealth can be provided to heirs without ever paying any taxes, we are on the way to a permanent aristocracy.
Dad decided that he and Mom should retire to Florida, which has no state income or estate tax. But Mom wasn't happy.
The question is, am I making compromises?
You ask yourself. I mean, you're an intelligent person.
Wait, I'm in the middle of a sentence.
It felt like Dad was choosing lower taxes over his wife of 40 years.
My relationship with Dad is deteriorating.
We worry, and I think that worry often makes us try to hold on to everything that we have.
After I'm gone, the family will go on.
Taxes are really about the wages that we pay together into our children's futures.
But I found myself wondering, whose futures and at what cost?
You can have concentrated wealth in the hands of a few, or you can have democracy, but you can't have both.
I got to say, I really like your dad. I really like your dad. Never met him.
He says a lot of, my dad wasn't wrong often, which made him a pain in the ass, but he's a super smart guy. And I loved him a lot. He really earned it. And that's the great thing about this film, I think, is that a couple of things. One is that I have this person who I love, telling the other side of the story. We don't agree, but we still love each other, and we can have an honest and open and respectful discussion. And I think that at this moment in time, that's really important. But when he passed away in 2008, was just when the economy was kind of falling apart, and things have gotten harder and harder for Americans. I don't think that this needs to be a partisan issue. The idea that we live in a meritocracy, where you want your kids to be able to work hard and succeed, is really basic. And I think all Americans want that to be the case.
We've got 2,500 people watching live and a lot of questions from our audience. Would you like to go to questions here?
Sure. Why not? Let's do that.
Here we go. And real quick, when is the movie coming out? Is it VOD? How can we see it?
Yeah. So the film is actually coming into theaters in New York tomorrow, the 17th at the IFC. It'll be here for a week, and then it'll be in LA on the 25th per week. And then we're going to be moving around the country, showing the film and having discussions. It's really, for me, about having the discussion. This film doesn't necessarily have any specific answers. It asks questions, and I've got people on both sides of the issue talking in this movie. I noticed that, and I think the best documentaries ask questions. Alan and I see a lot of documentaries. We've noticed a trend. They're very polarized. You've got them on one side of the aisle or the other, and I don't like either of those kinds. Who wants to watch that? I don't want to watch that. Yeah,
it seems like the premise and the thesis is decided before the movie is being made, and I like to see movies that ask questions. I can't wait to see that.
I mean, I do have to say that this is a tough discussion because my family's going through it right now. My parents were not rich, but they were very middle class, and the best thing they ever did was buy property. They bought their home. We bought a restaurant, and who knew the value of those things would skyrocket the way they did? And you know, we lived cash poor for most of our lives, but we hold these properties and realizing my dad is like, I can't sell these things because he's just morally against giving the government that much money, that much of a portion of his hard work.
Yeah. Well, but you know, the reality is that there's this belief that the estate tax is going to affect everybody, but it literally 0.01% of Americans, you get to a couple gets to pass on almost $30 million before 1 cent of it goes to the government. So it's really only the super rich that have to pay it. And, it's just it's a question like, there's this idea that people are successful on their own, but that's not true in my opinion. Like we need a stable country with infrastructure and courts and a military to create a place where businesses can succeed. And all those things take resources, take taxes.
Yeah. It's a big question. It's a big issue. Yeah. All right. From ADL's 24, how long has this been a subject that you wanted to tackle in this format? Did you always see yourself as making a documentary, or were there other avenues you thought as a way to tell this story?
Yeah, that's a great question. I mean, I'm a documentary filmmaker. I've been doing this for 35 years. For so many of those films have been about other people. I mean, there's this tradition where you make films about people in need and I think that's very well-meaning. But, when I decided to make a film about, taxes and wealth, nobody would talk to me because, it's kind of the last taboo to talk about your own wealth in America. So I decided to use this footage that I have of my parents, from the late 90s, early 2000s. I, as a filmmaker, I've been documenting them, and that's what I do. And in 2000, my mom left my dad because she didn't want to be living in Florida, and he insisted that was, where they had to live for tax purposes. So that was pretty dramatic. That is a good kind of foundation for this discussion about what's important, and what, now that I have kids, I want them to inherit a democracy where their neighbors aren't struggling just to pay their bills. So
all right, Davina Duckworth, think about how much tax is paid on the debt interest. Yeah, again, big issue. It's a broad issue.
Yeah, it's a broad issue. And, it's not, people think about taxes like, oh, this is this horrible thing that's kind of dropped on them. But it's their decisions that we make that kind of reflect who we are and what our priorities are. So I think that it needs to be more of a discussion. Interestingly, I think with this last bill, it's really become more of a discussion. So that's important. And, the tax cuts that just came through, this last bill made permanent the 2017 tax cuts for the wealthy, and that added something like $5 trillion to the debt. So you're basically kicking the can down the road. We have to pay interest on that, and our kids are going to have to pay for that. My dad said like, oh, this is the redistribution of wealth if you want to take my money. But if you look at it carefully, wealthy people get far more in tax breaks than poor people do. That's, it's important to know that. There's this myth about the makers and the takers. But poor people, are getting paid $7.25 an hour, and paying Social Security and Medicaid and all that. So, yeah.
All right, Sons and Shadows cast. We've never recovered from the savings and loan scandals, and that was over 40 years ago. A.D. Ellis, how is it approaching economists from all sides of the economic and political spectrum to be a part of the documentary in these polarizing times? Are they concerned about the message and their portrayal?
Yeah, I mean, because I have this track record of having made films about subjects that are kind of controversial. I've made several films about gun rights and guns from both sides of the perspective. That I have a certain credibility, but also the fact that my dad so clearly and eloquently states this point of view that is different from mine, I feel like opened the door, that this was more of a discussion and that was really helpful. So I got lucky and I got to speak to Grover Norquist and Frank Luntz, who really came up with the whole messaging around, turning the estate tax into this death tax. And, Stephen Moore, people like that. So I think it's important. And, even though we disagree about a lot of things, deep down, they were very open about the fact that they think that massive wealth inequality is not good for our country. It's just a question of how do we fix it, really.
Fun with Collecting, 9.6 on IMDb. Is this your favorite documentary you've made in the last 30 years? Also, do you have more great ideas like this coming up?
I also shoot documentaries for other people, and there's nothing like being in the middle of an unfolding scene, whether it's my parents arguing about their relationship or, kids. I've made 3 films about street kids and heroin. So each one has a moment in it that I love. I mean, this is my favorite right now because I'm kind of right in the middle of it. But just the challenge of trying to tell a story that's real and unfolding is a lot of fun and is a real privilege, actually.
Well, certainly the way into the topic through your father makes it very personal. So, and being a father yourself. So,
yeah, and stressful. It's not easy, talking about these things, but I think it's worth a shot. So,
yeah. And I want to direct people to the website, deathandtaxesfilm.com. There's a list of theaters here. You can request a screening. There's other material on the website, screenings that are upcoming. Here we've got the dates. You can learn more. LA, New York, San Francisco. So all over, go to deathandtaxesfilm.com. Check out all the information there. I want to say thank you, Justin.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Yeah, it's great talking to you.
And no, it's great talking to you. And I'm a big documentary film fan. So for someone like yourself who really explores the topic without maybe having necessarily a 100% preconceived notion where the movie's going, it's rare these days. And so thank you for your work.
Thanks.
And I want to encourage our audience to check it out. Not everything is Marvel, Star Wars, and all that. We like to encourage people to see other types of.
Yep. Thanks. And hopefully, I think it will be streaming in the late fall. So if you can't see it in theater, it'll be available. So.
Great. Well, Death and Taxes, it's coming to a theater. It's coming for all of us.
No doubt.
Great. Thank you, Justin.
Thanks a lot.
Take care. Thank you so much. See ya.